Hey, let me show you something I've been working on. So we had our timer for our Gulper pump in the shower. It went bad. It just ran nonstop. As soon as you would trigger it, it would never turn off. Went to the normal troubleshooting. The float switch was good and all that, and it ended up being that timer relay went bad. But here's what it's supposed to do. Let me show you. All right, so here's the shower, and the way it's supposed to work is you drain. When this fills full of water, it actually causes this float switch to come up, and when it comes up, after a short delay, it's supposed to turn on a pump which will pump the water out, and then once the switch goes back down, it continues to run for some period of time to make sure it pumps as much water out as possible. But so right now it's working. I lift it up, it starts to pump. And then I let go. It'll continue to pump for a little bit. And then it stops. So that's what it's supposed to do. So what ours was doing was it would just never stop. All right, so let me show you what it looks like underneath the floor, underneath the sole. All right, so here's underneath the sole, down near the bilge. This is the actual timer relay for that forward shower. It's no longer functioning. This is the one for the aft shower and sink. It's actually working. It's nothing too special about it. What I like is it mounts easily, to this little board, and it's self-contained. I like that it has a switch. If for some reason that float switch isn't working, you can just turn it on, and it'll actually run the pump until you turn it off. So that's actually a feature I want to make sure I keep when I replace this. I also, I have this one disconnected. I don't want to cut off these connectors and replace them with something different, because I would like to be able to make these interchangeably. If my solution quits working for this one, I'd like to be able to just move the wires over to here and have a functional timer for that front shower if we need to drain some water out of there. Even if we don't use the shower, water can get in there, through the hatch, or if we hang wet clothes in there, water can get in there. So we do need to be able to make sure that Gulper pump is working. The Gulper pump, in this case, is right below it. That's it down here. Basically, these cables right here, that's the load for the timer relay. When it kicks off, it actually just powers, sends power down these lines to the pump. This is the 12 volts coming from the circuit breaker, and then this right here is going to that float switch up underneath the shower. So it's a pretty simple circuit, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this and make some modifications to it so that it works again. All right, so I went ahead and pulled it out. This is the component that failed. I could just buy a replacement online, but I couldn't find any for less than about $300, and all it is a simple timer relay. So here's what I did. First of all, if you remember, I want to make sure that this switch still continues to work. Turns out that these two terminals right here, they're open right now. If I flip the switch on, they become shorted. So this is tied to the switch. That actually goes where the trigger is at, where you would normally hook up the float switch. So obviously they just did a wiring similar to what I did for the replacement, in that this either triggers by a switch or it triggers by the remote float switch. So since I want to use this switch, I'm going to take advantage of those two terminals. So what I did was I ordered one of these. I'll link the information on the website. But basically, it's a timer relay. It's actually made in the USA, which is amazing. This is a 10 amp one. I actually used a 5 amp one in the circuit, which is supposed to be sufficient for that pump. But basically, you provide it power. This is the ground. Provide it 12 volts. This is for the load, so that's what goes to the pump. It'll turn on when the timer is triggered. This is trigger 1, the blue wire. That's what I'm going to hook up to the switches. Green is trigger 2, not using it, and then white is how you actually program the multi-timer. So basically, to program it, you'll also need one of these. I'll also put a link into where you can buy that from. But basically, you can get the programmer and the multi-timer from Amazon for about 35 bucks. And then you only need one of these, only one programmer if you're going to do multiple circuits. So here's what it ends up looking like. Got the multi-timer. All right, so I wired it in such a way so that I can connect this up to here so that this switch will still function. And then I can connect these up to the existing connectors. That way I don't actually have to cut off any of those other terminals. And if I need to, I can switch what I'm getting ready to make out with an actual, one of these that we already have on the boat, because we have 2 other ones on the boat in systems. Or if this ends up not working out, I can just, buy one of these and switch it out if I need to. But so far it does test good. So that's what I made. Went ahead and I installed it in the system and I tested it and it works fine. I used, when you read the manual for this, you set different functions up. So I used function 12 and I set it with a delay of 1 second. Once it's triggered by a switch, it waits for 1 second, then it turns on, and then I told it to stay on for 10 seconds after the trigger goes away. So that's what function 12 allowed me to do. In the manual, they have a whole bunch of different functions. You can change it if you want to. You can obviously set the timer for different amounts of time. But that's what I did. So the next step is, since I know it works, is I'm going to be connecting it, modifying this case essentially, and mounting it on here a little bit cleaner. So originally, and I still may do this, I was planning on using potting glue. That way this will actually be embedded into something to protect it from water. This is actually sealed pretty good. I may not have to do that. It may be just sufficient to mount it here, and then route my cables and get everything cleaned up. But I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to actually use this potting glue. But that's it for now. I'll show it to you when I'm done. Alright, so here's what it looks like when it's done. I ended up not using that potting glue. I just used silicone adhesive. So as long as that stays in there, I'm probably not going to do anything else. Otherwise, I'll fill this area full of that potting glue. But basically, I just have these connected here so that the switch still works. Glue's still wet. And then I drilled a hole here to bring the wires out. So once I install it, I'll get it all cleaned up and dressed nicely. But yeah, I think this will work. Alright, so here's the finished product. Should work. Okay, kicked on. See the red light means that the trigger's active and it's actively running. So then it should turn off. Alright. Looks like we're good. I just need to make sure I hold this down until the glue dries.